One of the main purposes of a meeting like this is to talk to each other, to discuss matters. And you can do that in many different ways. And you've already had a number of informal discussions, and we've also heard a number of formal presentations. And now we're going to have a third approach to this, which is a panel debate. And the title which we gave the participants was the Baltic Sea region as a region for research and education. And when we wrote this, we were thinking not only of research as one thing and education as another, but the two things as two sides of the same coin. Especially for university education, we are propagating knowledge which is often new, or insights which are new, and this often arises from university-based research. And with regionally relevant issues, this is very often universities within the region itself. So I think there is a very strong link between education and research. The panel consists of Sergey Aplonov from St. Petersburg in Russia, and we also invited Ludmila Verbitskaya from St. Petersburg, but she couldn't come, so I think you're going to read a short utterance from her. Then we have Piotr Paneth from Lodz University of Technology in Poland. Rimantas Vaitkus from the ministry in Lithuania, and although you're from the ministry, my understanding is that you have a solid background in the university sphere. And Mykhailo Zgurovskyi from the National Technical University in Ukraine. I probably didn't pronounce that right, my apologies. And then we have my boss, Åkesson from Uppsala. To stimulate the discussion here and to kind of point out things we thought might be worth discussing, we sent some suggestions for things which might be taken up. The role of internationalization in education, the role of cooperation in research, the Baltic Sea region. What is the role of the universities in this region and in the development of the region? And what is the role of the universities in relation to the sudden situation we have with tensions between some of the countries? There are more specific issues as well, and some of the ones which might be relevant are what can we identify very concrete and specific issues for the Baltic University Programme, which are relevant just now and which we should try to do something about? Where can Baltic work as a catalyst? Not necessarily doing things itself, but somehow putting other instances into contact with each other to stimulate new and important activities. And a third issue which we should maybe penetrate is, because there are very major EU programs, but not all of the Baltic participants are members of the EU, there are some significant issues there about the Baltics' relationship to EU and how we can best exploit the possibilities there. And with that, I'd like to, we asked the panel here to start off by each one of them giving a few minutes elucidation of the way they perceive some of these issues. And we'll start off at the far end there with Professor Aplonov. So please, proceed.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to say a few words. It's a big honor for me to say the congratulations for the Baltic University Programme members, from Rector of St. Petersburg State University, Professor Nikolai Kropochev, and from President of our university, Professor Ludmila Verbitskaya. Unfortunately, she cannot be here, but send congratulations for all people here. I represent the newborn structure in St. Petersburg University. It is very rapidly transformations of structure of the university, especially in two universities of Russia, which has, as you know, special status, Moscow State University and St. Petersburg University. And I represent here the Institute of Earth Sciences. It is not old, it is less than 1 year old, but it combines two faculties, of university, Faculty of Geology and Faculty of Geography, and each of them have a 100 years history, and we will try in the nearest future to develop our activity in all areas. It is all areas of earth science, from the regional geology, physical, human geography, to material science, soil science, engineering science, and all which connected with the earth are represented in our university. Considering the issues of our discussion, first, I think that it is important to develop our cooperation inside the Baltic University Programme and some other network organization. I think the development of international, mostly English language, of course, master, first of all, and PhD programs is the main aim of our university. Now we have one but multidisciplinary program, English language. It is dual degree program with Hamburg University, so-called POMOR, Polar Marine Research. In the nearest future, the number of these master programs will be increased, and I hope for future cooperation with other universities, especially with the universities which are included in Baltic University programs. Second one, now St. Petersburg University is so lucky that we have absolutely unique equipment, high-tech equipment, and I can invite all scientists from all universities which represented there to join to our research activity. This activity is in all areas connected with the earth science too, and everybody can join to these research programs. The information about these programs, I will not represent them, they are represented on the site of St. Petersburg University. It is a perspective. Third, only I'm absolutely sure that only the close cooperation between two aims of university activity, research and teaching, can be successful in the nearest future, because in other cases we cannot represent this idea of research-based education. All which I say connected not only European cooperation, of course, because it is impossible to discuss the development of geological, for example, education without our colleagues from United States, from Canada. We have a close connection with a lot of universities. And the last, I think that will be useful, the connection between Baltic University Programme and other network programs which exist in Europe and the United States. For example, we have a good relation with the University of the Arctic, which comprises 270 universities of Northern Europe, United States, Canada, and main objectives are investigations of Arctic. And I think if we together move this activity, develop this activity, our next steps in this area will be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. after we've had these presentations, we'll open for a general discussion. But now we'll move on to Poland, to Lodz. So please.
Thank you very much. Let me start on a personal note. Some years ago, I visited the University of Uppsala for a couple months under the Visby program, and I didn't know what a Visby is. So this is my first, I mean, I knew what it is, but I've never seen it. So this is my first time I'm in Visby at the island, and I enjoyed this stay very much. So following my colleague, I'll pass greetings from Rector of Lodz University, my boss, Professor Bielecki, who used to attend these meetings always, except for this time that he had to attend some meeting in the ministry, so he's sending his greetings to everybody. And now coming to the issue of this debate, I might have a little outsider view because I'm in the office only for 2 years now. And let me give you some statistic, although you heard a bit about Lodz and about our university already with Professor Wolf presenting our involvement in Campus Europea and my previous Vice-rector for Science who will be involved in PhD awards in the afternoon. And you've seen, I think, even shots from Lodz from students' presentation. So you know a bit, but let me tell you that with Baltic area countries, we have over 160 agreements, and formal and informal, but half of it is connected with Erasmus program, and it's more or less 1/3 of what we sign up with other countries. And in recent discussions with other partners outside Baltic group, actually, we were wondering whether signing so many agreements has real consequences, because there are some reasons for signing agreements, in some cases necessary agreements, but as I discussed it with one university in Great Britain, some of them are staying on empty paper, and I think we should concentrate. What they did actually, they canceled out of 300 agreements, they went down to 15, but these were 15 that were really working. So I think there is something to it, and my first idea is to review the agreements that we have. It was quite a number of discussions regarding education, and Baltic University Programme concentrates on this on education angle, and I think it's time, and it was also raised this morning, that it's time to move slightly more strongly into research, and I would be very much interested in pushing it. But before going to research, let me point out that there are methods that are not fully implemented, at least from the Polish side, in this program. For example, my university, actually my faculty, pioneered the inter-university program in Poland. We are giving diplomas to our students from 3 different universities, and this year we started also a program that is international with the University of Twente. We started a new program, so we would be very happy to and very open to setting up a program for students that will combine programs from different countries, from different universities, and put it together as one program. Well, the first one is rotating students within semester through different universities. It works really nice. 230 members now, and my question is whether such consortium is manageable. We are participants of other consortia, including European Consortium of Innovative Universities, where we have 3 Baltic region universities. And over there, we decided to, after voting and after long discussion, we decided to actually limit the number of participants, because we thought we figure out that some partners are being inactive, just sign up and do nothing. And there is the question of the idea of being active within. I'm not sure, I'm new here, so I don't want to criticize, but going with a bigger number and bigger number just to beat, I don't know, the record, Guinness record or something, I don't think it's a good idea. I think each consortium should have as many members as active members. And I'm not sure whether we are fulfilling this criteria. We should have, and that was also indicated in this triple helix, we should increase the visibility of the consortia in Brussels and have some influence on policy making and decision makings within Brussels. And this is, for example, for what EDU is for. Within ECIU, we don't do any collaborative research. We just talk about policies, talk about what's important for universities to develop further, and try to make ourselves visible in EU and show that this is something that is important for development. And finally, I would like to seek your support in European fight against depreciation of doctoral degree, which I personally feel happens because of the programs that are and even terminology that is used. And we have now PhD students. I think research someone who is doing PhD is scientist and should be scientist and should be treated like someone who is doing science, not like a student. Of course, for policy making people, it's much easier to treat everybody, put everybody into one bag and be done with it. But we are trying really strong to come back with the idea that doctoral degree is something important, and it's science, not education. And I would be very happy if we can support and implement it within the BUP program. For example, there was a move, I know, to have grant system, for a scientific grant system within the program. I haven't seen it, so it's probably not out yet, but I think it's a very good idea to support science within our group. So that's brief points that I had wanted to present. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Now we move quickly on to Lithuania.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe for somebody it's a question why the representative of ministry is sitting in this place, because usually we have two fronts and the ministries are usually on opposite side. And I remember one event when the high-level officers were visiting, representing all ministries of education and science of Europe, visiting one museum, and was piranhas in the aquarium, and one of our friends said, "They're looking like rectors on us." But I am sure that it's not like this, because I was on opposite side 2 years ago, so I was Vice-rector of Lodz University. Anyway, I'm very happy that you invited me to this panel discussion. Uppsala University for me is a personal feelings, because 18 years ago I was here for training for several months at the chemistry department, and I saw a lot, and I was happy that with this training. And of course I was engaged in Baltic University Programme already many years ago, because as you mentioned, it is visible in Brussels, because Baltic Sea region strategy had a flagship project on the cooperation of Baltic universities, and the Baltic University Programme was mentioned and the most successful program of this cooperation. But anyway, I think that it's very important, this international cooperation in all levels, and this network that also includes not only the Baltic Sea region universities, but a little bit beyond, for example, Czech Republic and others, that we usually say that this region should be that rivers should go on Baltic Sea, but there are rivers that are going on opposite sides, but doesn't matter, the target is the same. To improve quality of life and quality of ecology of Baltic Sea region, and we find this cooperation very valuable. And the bonus program is one of possible tool for cooperation on research activities, because it has money for that. It has some financial instrument. Because the Baltic Sea strategy was left without money and was left with just nice words, saying that, okay, you should cooperate, it's very useful, Baltic Sea region program, it's okay, Baltic Sea region university is wonderful, but we have no money, sorry. And I think each program should have money, and I'm sure that basing only on the in-kind contribution of Uppsala University, we cannot survive. Actually, we have to cooperate. I mean, each country should put some influence on it, because we cooperate in equal rights. Finally, we just recently had good discussion, political discussion, how we consider the region that should be sustainable. And of course, because new issues, new tensions are coming from different countries, new scopes, maybe different scopes, where to discuss. I think academic world is one of the wonderful things where you can discuss academically what is bad, what is wrong. It's not just a media transmission, or not some prepared opinion, but academic discussion, I think, is the most valuable thing to discuss very difficult issues like political tensions, like events in Ukraine, like Crimean questions, and so everything can be discussed academically, in my opinion, because this is the actually good chance for the scientists to do them cooperation. For sure, this university program, Baltic University Program, has many, how to say, faces, many possibilities, many opportunities to use it. And what is the most valuable thing, that we do have this network.
Many important transformation of our higher educational system, innovation system of Ukraine have been done just after participation in this project and after receiving very important experience of another Baltic universities. For example, after performing the project together with Royal Institute of Technology from Stockholm and with Delft University from Netherlands, this project was called Bridging the Gap Between Business and Universities. Ukraine developed own innovation system. Two national laws were adopted by Ukrainian parliament, and now our innovation system is in good process. But today Ukraine faces new challenges. First of all, our country fully used old directions of own development. I mean low technological development based on raw material processing and using low technologies. Also, after separation from Ukraine, the eastern part of our country, Ukraine lost quite big industrial potential, which based, of course, on low technology and dangerous for the nature and for the health enterprises. So Ukraine now should decide a new, very important problem. What new directions of own development it's necessary to establish. How to do it? Which potential is necessary to use for new kind of development? It's clear for us that Ukraine has only one very important potential, which is good educated, especially in natural sciences, in mathematics, human capital. So it's a problem how to develop the structure of new economy, which resources it's necessary to use. To solve this problem, our university proposed to initiate so-called foresight project for our country, which could be in some sense similar to Baltic 21 project of foresee of the future of Latvia. For our foresight project, we will invite the experts from different countries, and we would like to offer this project like inter-university project for Baltic universities. We will organize a special expert groups, we will use a special methodologies, and we will start this project just in the second part of this year. Also, our country is continuing to develop quite compatible space technologies. For example, our university, my university, which is Kyiv Polytechnic Institute, fully developed and launched into the space the nanosatellite this year, and we are in process of developing and launching another satellites during the next 3 years. All this space, university space program will solve the climate change investigation problem. We will study the different layers, atmosphere, stratosphere, ozone layer, and after receiving the data from our satellites, we will make the modeling of natural disasters in our control satellite center at our university, and with this outcomes we would like to join to world network of climate change investigation. So I would like to offer this project for inter-university cooperation, which will be very important, especially in the nearest decades. Some other projects we are developing now, establishing now, and we will be very thankful to our partner universities for participation, for help, for advices, and for further cooperation. Thank you.
So thank you. Now, last but by no means least, Åkesson from Sweden.
Well, thank you very much. Some of these issues are already addressed this morning, so I will not repeat what I said then. I try to have a little bit different angle here. Well, quality knowledge, creativity since 1477, a tradition of renewal, world-class research and first-rate education of global use to society, business and culture. That is Uppsala University. That is what we stand for. I do think we share our goals and visions with the universities that are gathered here, that we all try to conduct research and education of the highest quality. What we emphasize very much is also to be broad-minded and open to change. It's not good enough to rest in your traditions. It's a tradition of renewal, not only traditions. And also that we should take an active role in the global society and promote development and innovation. We want, as a top 100 university in the world, strengthen our position as a world-leading university. But why we want to do that is that what we really strive for is to contribute in everything we do to a better world. It's not for our own sake. Our approach to internationalization should reflect the established academic values, and that is to have an open pursuit of knowledge, critical perspective, and also that we actively exchange knowledge and experiences and have an openness to influences from other countries, an affirmative attitude to the free movement of people and also ideas. And this is also to include, for example, open access, that we share what we know in many, many different ways. So to have an international orientation, it is crucial for the university as a whole. Internationalization have moved very far from being the business of an international office working on the side just with student mobility to a much more mature and integrated endeavor for the whole university. So international perspective should be integrated to all study, all research programs, and also one should not forget to the administrative support processes. And it is the responsibility, I would say, for active researchers, teachers and students for the university as a whole. And we should carry out this work in keeping the university's commitment to solidarity and sustainable development throughout the world. When I was inaugurated as Vice-Chancellor at Uppsala University, there were 3 different perspectives I spent quite some time in my program address, and the first one was talking about quality, the second one was internationalization, and the third one is to emphasize to never ever forget, always remember it is the students that are the future, all the time. Internationalization and education. It's of course extremely important. We work with exchange. We have some problem, I must comment here, that to get our Swedish students to go and leave the universities. One could think of that we're giving so much good education so they want to stay at home, but I think it's an important quality issue that also the Swedish students are mobile and go out in the world, even though we like them very much. But coming in and going out and the mobility, I think it's very important that we have an international classroom, that there are different perspectives that can be addressed into the seminar rooms. And again, it's very important that it is integrated, embedded. We can have certain programs that are only international students, and then we have programs that are only Swedish students. We can have housing for international students, and we can have housing for Swedish students. And what good is that? We have to think about our housing provision so we have international students and Swedish students living side by side. Because you all know that the learning process is not only within the lecture hall or the classroom or the laboratory, it's so much more at the university. What I'm very pleased and happy about is the student life at Uppsala University. It's our unions and also our nations that are driven by the students, for the students, that they really embrace international students and help them to be integrated to the university life in Sweden. And I think that's very important. But I think we have moved quite a lot from working with exchange to working more towards joint programs, to have international student summer programs and more integrated structure mobility programs. So it's going from purely exchange, that we have the mobility of the students, that it actually becomes an important project and venture that includes the whole university and the teacher much more than have done before. So I think we are going from different phases in internationalization to either more complicated and also, I would say, much more interesting. But quite often we start to think about the mobility of the teachers, and what's one thing that fascinates me, that researchers are extremely mobile. They go to international conferences worldwide, and I did that as a researcher. And I met many of my colleagues in different places in Europe. It could be China, and it could be both South and North America. But as a teacher, I didn't meet my colleagues around the world. So I'm still fascinated about mobile researchers, and what shall I call them, stable teachers or non-mobile teachers, and it's the same persons. We are researchers and teachers, but we go around the world so much more in our role as researcher and not as a teacher. And I think this is an issue that that we actually have quite a lot of room for improvement, and also encourage all our researchers and teachers, which are the same persons. When you are at an international conference of research, talk a little bit about education. Go and listen, learn something from your colleagues. Give a guest lecture. When you have guest researchers in your lab, get them engaged in the teaching that you're going to do in the afternoon. Be generous. Let them meet your students. Don't keep your students to yourself. Share them with your research colleagues. When it comes to cooperation of research, I think there is so much more than we know about. And I say this as a Vice-Chancellor for Lodz University. The more things that are going on, I do not have a clue about at all. But when one starts to look, we have a lot of formal collaborations and so forth, but when I go and look at actually co-publishing, then I start to realize that we have so much together in collaboration from individuals and different kind of research groups. And I think it's very important that we in the university management recognize that and see how we can encourage what is going on and get that to be nourished and grow even more. We are active as a university in several different networks. The size of this network were addressed earlier, but I think there are different networks and there are different purposes. This is a network that consists of 230 members. We are also a member of a network that's called U4, and the number of members there are 4. And of course, as a university, we use that network very differently than we use the network of the Baltic University Programme. So I think it's important to see one size does not fit all, and also all the different networks should not do the same. So we decide to be a member and an active partner in different kinds of networks of different reasons. And I think it's important to recognize that. And also, what is the network? What can it do for you? Well, what can you do for the network? It's all the members that create the network. I've been participating in quite a lot of different kind of international networks and been active within them. And quite often the discussion arose, what is the purpose of this? What am I sitting here? Why am I spending time here? Well, make the best use of it. We do create this network, and we make the purpose, and we make this meaningful. It's nobody else that will do that for us. So the responsibility lays on us, always, when it's our networks. And also when it comes to the Baltic Sea region here, we are at Campus Gotland, that is now a part of Uppsala University and has been since 1st of July 2013. One of the purposes and one of the strategies of the campus was actually to play a very important role in the regional development, and that is not limited to this island. We want to be an actor in the issues related to the Baltic Sea. We want to be a hub, a meeting place for these very important discussions. And I'm very happy that we are able to host you at this conference here, because this is just right on the strategy that we decided, or our governing board of the university decided when we had a merger with Högskolan på Gotland and Uppsala University. And looking at the Baltic University Programme, it was initiated more than 20 years ago, and we have had many testimonies of its importance that it can be. And I think it's important to go back to the statutes, and I think they are very good. The Baltic University Programme focuses on questions of sustainable development, environmental protection and democracy in the Baltic Sea region. The aim is to support the key role that universities play in a democratic, peaceful and sustainable development. I think these are extremely important issues that are addressed in the statutes of this program. And also, I think one thing that we could take pride in, and I'm very positive, is that it has an emphasis to actually give an international experience to young students. To have this in the early age, in young years, is very important. Of course, we know from research, if you have an international experience early, it's much more likely that you will continue to have an international orientation. So this will change their experience for the life and also how they behave and also their values. Of course, there's always issues about sustainable regional-wide financial basis, and I think there will be many others that will be addressing this issue. I just would like to emphasize that it is important to find financial sources also for initiatives that goes across borders, that goes across nation borders and a full region like this, and that could be much, much more of this. And looking at the network that I'm getting more and more acquainted with, one thing I think is very good is that it actually has a quite informal structure and not too much bureaucracy, and it gives a lot of freedom in Spain what things and issues, initiatives that can be taken of all of us would we like to do. It's not a very, I would say, enclosed what's permitted or not. It's a very creative network. And also that it is a network that is open to collaboration to other networks, that we are not sitting and protective what we do, but we actually open up, and I think that is another thing that is extremely positive. And it gives a voice to the students and also involves the students. Students are the future. And as I was said by the former speakers here just before lunch that gave an excellent speech here, students of today are the leaders of tomorrow, and I think that was a very good reminder to all of us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. It's unusual to listen to so many highly intelligent and well-informed people discussing such a broad spectrum of potential activities and such a number of different perspectives. Before opening the floor for discussion, I thought I would maybe try to catch a few threads which I thought were significant. One, when we're discussing joint activities, there are two separate perspectives. One is what you do, and the other is how you do it. But these aren't really separate in a context like this. They kind of go together. But if we think a little bit about how we do things, Baltic is largely around working together. We're talking about active exchange of knowledge, people and ideas. That was a quote from, I think Eva said that. We can discuss things like joint quality assurance. The world is becoming more international and quality assurance is becoming more of an issue. We can discuss which areas we would like to collaborate in research, in education at what level. But I think also there's another perspective, and that is the more explicit targets which we would like to focus on. Some of the things which were mentioned here were smart specialization, transport, managing natural resources, climate change, space technologies, e-science. All of these things are very much on the agenda. We also heard that from the Ukraine that there are very major changes going on in the socio-industrial system in many countries, and this is going quickly, and there will be very major implications for this. All the indications are that society in a few decades' time will look very different from today in terms of industrial activities. And industrial activities imply use of natural resources, environmental loads and so on. So I think this is a key issue for Baltic. It's also a natural issue for Baltic because things like possible pollution and use of natural resources, this affects not only the country who's pushing the activities, but also often the neighbouring countries. So I think we should discuss partly what objects we would like to aim at, if we can identify priority targets, and also how we should try to approach them and how we should try to interact with each other. Okay, who would like to say something? Don't be shy.
Thank you. My name is Talis Juchna. I'm a Vice-rector for Research at Riga Technical University. First of all, thank you for very interesting, thoughts you have shared. And as I understand that one of the topics of this panel was to discuss the more strong relation between research and education. And of course that is quite clear that research should be part of any study process. It comes back to the humble theory of university and so on. But can you share a little bit of your experience, I mean, in practical terms, how to realize it? Because when you talk at the master level, we have opportunities to engage in several projects. But I believe that research should come into the play quite early at the bachelor level. Do you see some practical, or maybe you have already some practical experience, how to really encourage already the undergraduate bachelor students to do more research, and maybe involve more of the researchers in the teaching process, which might be a little bit challenging in the first 2 courses of the study? Thank you.
So who would like to respond? Eva.
Well, one very easy thing that I did in my previous life as Director of Education in Chemistry is actually the first semester all the chemistry students were invited. They could choose a department and be together with a researcher for a week and participate in the activities in the lab. But first and foremost actually see how the life is. Participate in discussion in the coffee room and realize being a researcher is quite normal people. Most of them are nice. And it's very interesting discussions. So actually that already the first semester that the majority of the students can feel that this is an attractive career choice for me, and also that is possible for me. This is not Einstein people around. They're quite normal. And that decreases the barrier very much to get a large research interest very early in their career. Just an example.
May I? It was mentioned here that how we consider PhD students or researchers. I think that in our legislation, at least from the master degree already, they are considered like investigators. We have a special term, investigators. That means that they are in the research activities. And the question was raised about how to cooperate in this area. I think there is several tools on it. Of course, we can have a common PhD studies or common project working that allows us to invite representatives from different countries to have common projects on some topics. But also I mentioned the bonus program, which is for Baltic Sea region, especially prepared the program. Of course, one of the opportunities that Ola mentioned about the European Spallation Source, which will be created in Sweden, actually is one of the platforms where we can cooperate in research activities, and will be very important platform for that. And I think that in 10 years' time we will get good tool for better cooperation of Baltic Sea region researchers.
The concrete steps must be done in the renovation, reorganization of study plans of master programs, especially master and PhD programs. It is very actual, especially for Russian universities, and I think to main universities in post-Soviet area. Yeah, you see, when we discuss this problem, research-based education, we return to the question, what must be the relationship between two parts, education and research? I think 51 for 49, approximately. 51 for education, because the universities are education, and I absolutely agree with my Swedish colleague that students is our future, and etc. So we must study, but study where and how to study. I think, in my opinion, the teaching part, real teaching part in auditoriums, in the lectures, etc., must be not more than 30% of master degree program. All other education must be moved to labs, to field trips, to research. Yeah? It is more effective. It is a step, because the teachers more usual to discuss with the student in lecture hall, but not for all, and I think this very important and real step.
To just discuss with each other, and this is exactly what we're doing at the moment. So I think it's clear that Baltic has a role there, and that is an important role. Maybe more should be done. I think it's interesting to ask the question: is this kind of discussion forum the most central aspect in this particular aspect of integration of research into education, or are there other concrete developments which Baltic could contribute to? For example, teacher exchange programs or other activities. And if there are good proposals for activities which we could together organise, then that would be very interesting. I see a hand at the back.
Okay, thank you very much. Tanya Beleva, Tallinn University of Technology, Estonia, Center Director of the Baltic University Programme. So that, once more, thank you very much, colleague from Latvia, because really we started to talk about masters and PhD, but the concrete question was about the bachelor. Really, I understand. So when we're talking about the natural sciences, from the beginning, because in natural sciences, as far as I can guess, because I'm just from the social sciences, you have the possibilities for the students from the beginning. You have laboratories. For us, it's a little bit complicated case. I mean that for the social sciences. But we are really happy in Estonia that a year ago, on the with the help of Tallinn University of Technology, it was opened new center by the name as Mentoring, Innovation and Entrepreneurship. So it means that we are from the beginning trying to involve, because we understood also very clearly to have master students, PhD students, fine. But if we will not have the basis to grow bachelors, it is a very complicated case to have more master students and more PhD students. So that our Mentor is one of the tools how, from the beginning, to initiate and motivate bachelor students from both sides, from natural sciences, technical sciences, and social sciences, to have an idea with the help with startups. Thank you.
Yeah, Neil Powell from Uppsala University. Thanks for that comment about social science and the laboratory for social scientists, because I really appreciated Ahmed and Marek's presentation earlier today, which also made us view students, and in particular undergraduate students, not as passive recipients of knowledge, but active agents of change. And I think there's certainly very strong possibilities for students to use society and change processes which they're driving, to actually learn from those as active agents of change. And we have at Uppsala University a rather unique education, the SEAMS education, which is student-led, and we have special forums for students to interface with society. So we do have the equivalent of, I guess, natural scientists laboratory actually out there, out the door already, that social scientists and natural scientists can actively use in the education process as undergraduate students, and I think it's very valuable. Yeah.
Yeah, if I could continue, it was a big temptation. The microphone was so close to me. Yeah, continuing idea of my colleague Tatiana. First of all, I will introduce briefly Linas Kričininkas, Kaunas University of Technology, National Coordinator for Lithuania of the program. The weak point in the eastern part of the Baltic is practical placement of the students, practice. Since we have a number of credits for this, but real practice is not working, simply. So for us it will be very interesting experience from our colleagues, especially from Germany, because we know in Germany the practice established very well from Scandinavian countries. And I imagine that we should make arrangements locally, but the methodology, the approaches, how to deal, how to work with the industry people, this will be very interesting. And this could be one of the developments in the Baltic University Programme. Practical placement. At the same time, having relations with industry people directly.
Agreeing with what you're talking about with practical part, I would also like to mention that coming from I'm talking about student perspective since I'm a student, that when you carry out research, it's also, in my opinion, very essential to have the part where somebody try to advise you what's the social aspect of that, what's the economical aspect of that. And if you have kind of an interactive way within the network, in this sense that you can always get something done relative to the Baltic Sea region, so that research actually can be relevant later on or can be applied. So you can somehow try to have this interactive system. And I would like to a little bit mention the part where Poland, you spoke about the number of universities who are already participating in the network, and the question is that, is it would we have active ones, or is it the quantity or quality of the program? I mean, you already have the connections in there. I think the question is just the structure of the program might need a little bit of changing so that you can have better communication, and in this sense you can establish better getting research-based education, and as I mentioned, from different aspects, and getting people from the east and west to work together if they have common interest. But I think the question also to get this more effective is the structure and work on the communication part between the whole Baltic Sea program region, because you already established the connection, but it's maybe not as active. So maybe the structure needs to be changed. Yeah.
Ukrainian National Forestry University. I would like to bring our experience. I teach to students of master program, which is interdisciplinary. It is good for sustainable development goals, so it's interdisciplinary master program, and we invite students with different bachelor background. We allowed each direction, and this is very interesting experience to see when knowledge of even teacher stops. Yes, it's your body, and it's very familiar field for a student which has a background in forestry or chemistry or something like this. And it's very interesting to open discussion in this auditorium, because each of students has a different knowledge. But another approach which I am going to say, it's a form which we use in our education for ecological economics, is scientific ateliers. We invited, it was in one of our experience, we invited colleagues from Institute of Ecological Economics in Gant, it's Vermont University in USA. It is their experience, but it's very interesting, that is why, as to me, that is why I'm going to talk about this. We started from scientific collaboration because it was very interesting for us, our Institute of Ecological Economics and there. And we started to exchange by scientific, just lecture, guest visits. After that, we decided to involve in this cooperation students, and we use this practice of scientific ateliers. We organized panel lecture, Ukrainian scientists in USA University, and our students were invited to this experience. After that, they started to talk with the USA students and to see, we discussed a topic for our future collaboration, and it was sustainable forest management and ecological economics. And we organized common conference. We invited the very best people in ecological economics to our university, and we invited to this conference students, of course. There were a lot of students were participating in this conference, and practical experts from forestry, from forest agency in Ukraine. And it was a very interesting conference. This was combination of science and practice. After that, we were together, this international team, some of them were from Sweden, from Uppsala University too. And we went together to a field trip. And we, for a week, we stayed a field trip, we were talking with local people, with foresters about their problems, how to translate forestry to sustainability. And after that, we finalized in final workshop, and after coming back, we prepared common international students and teachers papers. And we published a book, and it is available on internet. It's possible to find. And it's a great experience, and it's described in paper by Joshua Farley and us. It's about this practice of scientific ateliers, which very well combine education and research.
I think it would be of interest also if it would be possible to extend also our cooperation to also include our views on how we cooperate with the surrounding society, especially when we are talking about the issue on sustainable development and the importance of promoting that. So I would like to get comments on that. Thank you.
Would the panel like to comment on that one immediately? It's a slightly different subject.
I think that goes to what I mentioned, the smart specialization of the regions, at least in which all universities actually, not only technical university, are involved in collaboration with local authorities to facilitate research that is composing well with what smart specialization of the region is. And I think that has to go this way, and in a way you're right, we are stressing education and research, but this should be focused on local facilities or local possibilities, and we are trying to do that, and this is also encouraged by EU. So all these new calls that are open, like recent, what was it, teaming, and the other one that evaded me at the moment. Pardon? Twinning, yeah. This one is still open, I think. These are tools to implement cooperation of setting universities within the places where they are and interact with local societies. And I think these are good tools actually to implement it, and I'm not sure why we don't discuss it much more here, but definitely this is something we are supposed to do, and even for practical reasons to get local societies to understand what we are doing and that we work for them.
I think I'd like to develop what I just said. There's been a lot of talk here about natural science. And Neil pointed out we tend not to talk so much about social sciences. I think quite a few of you are aware that there is a kind of a revolution going on in social sciences at the moment, and medicine, and it's starting to impact the commercial sector. And this is because we now have the ability to collect and deal with enormous amounts of data at individual level. Partly because you're walking around with your mobile phone all the time, but many other things as well. And this is already strongly affecting research. Completely new possibilities for social science research are opening. And this is almost certainly going to affect the economic sector in the future. Are there components in this which Baltic should try to engage in or elucidate?
And if we are talking about forms, how we can integrate science into education, I think a very nice opportunity we have here to use our networking. For example, this semester, previous semester, winter semester, we organized together with teachers which teach the same subject at different countries, different universities. So, for example, in our case, it was sustainable water management. And we organized several video conferences for students from different universities with the same question. And it was very nice to see how students, bachelor students, very young students, not researchers, they start science, this research from simple comparison. How it is water supply is organized in Warsaw, in Wrocław, in Lviv, and it was just a push to them for further investigation. And we have here in this BUP network, we have a lot of possibilities to find relevant persons here and to use this virtual mobility to enlarge our research.
Also, I would like to reply to the comment of Vice-rector of Warsaw University. Of course, each university has a lot of problems. Altogether, we have a lot of problems as well, but unfortunately, this audience can't solve most of them. So maybe we can consider the experience of the Conference of Rectors of Technical Universities of Europe. For each meeting, the representatives of big global companies invited just to talk the common problems and to solve it. So if this idea will be fruitful, I saw it was very fruitful. Thank you.
Yes, I'm amazed how many issues that you have touched upon in this debate and how many issues that you have raised. And it makes even more clear to me how important universities are and will be in the future, because the world is getting more and more complex and we're getting into a much more globalized world. So our role and our basic values, I think, are uttermost important, and that when we work with internationalization, that we are crossing borders. Academic integrity and freedom, I think that is the flag that we have to have posted the highest all the time. And also, all the knowledge, all the information, all the turbulence going on, what is true and what is false, that is getting more and more difficult to separate, and I think then the universities and critical thinking is the tool for the future for our students and for us. Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess we should all maybe thank the panel, and I think Paolo wants to give you all the gifts from these two. And I guess I should ask Paolo if there's some logistical information which needs to be propagated now. Do you need to say anything, Paolo? Oh, do I get one too? Thank you.
Thank you to everyone for this very interesting discussion. I think one of the most important issues that came up was from Ahmed, that we have to think about the best before days when it comes to information and knowledge, and really think about the lifelong learning perspective, what it means for our students, the groups, different groups of students, and the cooperation with companies. How do we interfere with the society and the company? Thank you so much to the audience for all the questions, also from my side, and to the panel and the chair. Thank you very much.